So you don't want to sound cutesy.
No, I do.
Oh.
Like the first read, I think was like one of the best ones.
You can't recreate magic. It's hard to do that. みんなアルとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。
To my motherfucking man, 50 grand, the alcoholic man, inject a tall can in his bloodstream if he can. Biggie Smalls, the 50 stroker, MC provoker, chocolate tie smoker, huh? I like to max and Maximas and Acuras. Your girl butt cheeks, I'm smacking, huh? The raw rapper, spine snapper, with the little cause on my lap. A shot, the ball, I ain't your fucking comforter. And if I ever fall in love, I bet I'm fucking up.
Episode 20 of the Virtual Pros Podcast. My name is Al, a.k.a. Super Brazy, a.k.a. Thug Gilbert, a.k.a. Henny Omega, a.k.a. Flocka Michinoku, a.k.a. Pino Dabatelli, a.k.a. Freaky Choshu, a.k.a. Mr. Your Favorite Joshi puts a little tongue on the kiss card for your boy. And with me is Mike.
Hey, I'm Mike. I only have 3 AKAs, but I'm Mike. I'm a.k.a. Bubba Ye Dudley, a.k.a. Lou Thiz, a.k.a. CM Crunk.
Like, it felt like it's been like 4 weeks since we recorded, so I had a bunch of AKAs just lined up. Like, I think about these things in my car. Anyway, today's episode. What did Mike and Al learn from being a part of the world's best wrestling podcast? Hit us up on Twitter if you haven't already at VRTLPros. Same as our Instagram. If you haven't already added us on iTunes, please do so. And you can also find us on SoundCloud. Just search Virtual Pros. And also if you want to look at our mixtape, please do so just by searching Virtual Pros on YouTube. It'll pop right up. Mike, do you have the emails loaded up on your end?
Oh, hell yeah. Let me look at that.
Let's do it.
Got a few emails.
Yeah, we did.
Let's see. All these Stardom messages, gotta sift through them to find.
Shout out to Stardom.
Al had a little showdown with Stardom earlier this week on Twitter. So, okay, first up is from listener Eric. He says, subject is Graps and Sports. He says, hey, Virtual Pros, with Little Hollywood's own Cavaliers winning Game 7. For those of you who don't know, on our my other podcast, Kissing Contest, we call Cleveland Little Hollywood. And so it's a long inside joke, so not going to explain it. But with their own Cleveland Cavaliers winning Game 7 and repping Warrior in Austin, I was wondering if you guys know of any other noteworthy wrestling and sport crossovers in pop culture. Also, since Al is from the Bay Area, what's your thoughts on Lincecum and the Angels now? Thanks again for the shout-out a few podcasts ago, Eric.
Yeah, congrats again, Mike. The only thing I can think about is Dage Loaf rocking the DX jersey in the Try Me video. But other than that, like, off the top of my head, I can't really think of any, like, wrestling, like, pop culture crossovers at the moment.
Well, I think there's a lot in rap music, but I think he means mostly like in other sports.
Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah, outside of like Karl Malone being in WCW, Dennis Rodman and people like that, Kevin Green, the Refrigerator back in WrestleMania 2.
Yeah. Lawrence
Taylor at WrestleMania 7, I believe, 9, one of those WrestleManias.
I think that was 11.
11? Yeah. Yeah, so it's been here and there, but nothing like, and like every year, whoever wins the championship in whatever sport, usually WWE sends them a belt, but it's nothing like too crazy, I don't think.
Also, Lincecum on the Angels, man, that shit hurts. Like 2002 personally was like the worst year of my life because that was the year I became an adult and graduated high school. On top of that, my SF Giants blew it against the Angels and the Sacramento Kings. That'll be the closest they ever get to winning a title, so 02 was a complete fucking mess for me. Thoughts on Lincecum on the Angels? Man, I'm glad he's back, but he's getting shelled right now, so it's kind of sad to watch, but I mean, I enjoyed the time that I had with him.
I don't follow baseball, but I know Lincecum's the guy who looks like a young boy, and he still looks like a young boy years later.
Okay.
Well, he was on a team after the Giants, right?
Nah, it's just the Giants, and then he's been like a Giant like his entire career, and then he kind of fell off, and now he's on the Angels.
Oh, I thought he was like on a team in between.
Nah.
Oh, well. Okay.
Next up, we got an email from George.
Yes.
The title is Ajikong, which is a really cool title for an email. He says, what's up, guys? Great episode last week. Thanks. Ajikong's theme song is straight fire, and the match with Toyota was outstanding. Thanks for putting it on the mixtape. You're welcome. My wife and I are heading to both the upcoming live SmackDown draft and Raw the previous night, so looking forward to that. In the meantime, though, I was wondering what your thoughts were, if any, on the What Culture YouTube channel. I tend to watch their videos quite often, but was curious to know your takes. All the best, and keep up the great work. Virtual Pros number 1, America, well, you get the idea. George, a.k.a. Fiend Ambrose, a.k.a. Local Beware, a.k.a. Thumpin' Jim Brunzel. I've only seen like a couple of those like What Culture YouTube channels, and it just kind of seems like BuzzFeed wrestling. So I don't really have like a total like opinion on it. Like it's totally fine, but I mean like I don't personally like check those videos out. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, first I'd like to shout out George for bragging that he has a wife in this email. Slipping that in there.
Had a bib.
Way to go, George. Congratulations, being a wrestling fan that has a wife. Yeah, those What Culture YouTube videos, I watch a lot of YouTube, and they usually just pop up in my recommended just because I watch like other wrestling related stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like BuzzFeed where it's always like a top 10, and some of them sound interesting, and then like I'll click on them and it'll just be like the most base level stuff, like it'll just be like, top 10 like worst heel like angles of all time or something. Yeah. And I'll expect some like gems in there, but it'll just always be like, the most base level stuff. But at the same time, that's what they're going for. They're going for clicks. They're not going to like blow our minds. I actually watch a channel called Wrestling with Regret, hosted by some guy who's way more popular than us that doesn't really need any more promotion, but he has a little more like digging in the crates type listicles and stuff. So I would definitely check out Wrestling with Regret if you haven't, but I think he legit has like 1 million subscribers, so I don't think he's like that underground or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only video I saw was like top 20 or something weirdest Japanese death matches. And it was like what you expected. Like you didn't see anything weird besides like no barbed wire matches, and that's totally fine. But I just don't watch those things.
I also have another What Culture thing related in the 2-man scramble, so we'll get to that in a little while.
Oh, cool. Do you have the next email?
Yeah, sure. It is from DC. I know that much.
This guy DC like leads the league in like emails to Virtual Pros. Thank you, DC. I appreciate it.
He has some questions. He says, DC here. When playing wrestling video games, do you play them as games or do you work actual matches?
Work all capital letters, by the way.
Yes, he put work in all caps. And number 2, what are some tips in booking trips to Japan? I've been trying to go forever, but I don't even know where to start. I'm sure other listeners would benefit from this info, so give us the secrets. Yeah, as far as I don't know anything about Japan, but as far as playing wrestling games, I mean, if I create a wrestler, I don't just give them like all of the best moves because that's stupid. And at the same time, like, I'm still playing to win, except if I'm playing online. I don't play online anymore because I hate it. But like, yeah, like I played WWE 2K16 briefly online. And I think one of the first matches I played, some dude figured out some pattern where like he would just like press 2 buttons and beat me like without me being able to do anything. That seems like really fun. Like, I don't know why more people don't do that. That seems like just a fun time. But when I play online, I don't give a shit if I win because, like, I don't have any pride in winning a fucking stupid video game online. So I'll just do the most annoying shit possible just to piss anybody off that I'm playing. I'll let them beat the shit out of me, but I won't let them pin me for like 10, 15 minutes. And then I'll just get disqualified. And so they can't even get the glory of getting the pin on me. Or I'll just keep walking out of the ring and walk to the back. I don't care. Yeah, I mean, if I'm playing by myself, it just depends if I want to get through the game or not.
I think he means like when you're playing alone, are you trying to make a match that looks beautiful? Like would Dave Meltzer rate this 5 stars? I think that's what you're alluding to, DC. And yeah, I used to do this, and then I turned 18, and then I didn't do it anymore. But I mean, like, you know what? Like when I played Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, I would kick out of a pin to make it look like a near fall. I definitely did that, but I haven't done that lately. It's kind of weird in retrospect, honestly. So yeah, we'll go into 2-man scramble now.
Yeah, you didn't give him any tips about booking.
Oh shit! Because I want to keep that shit secret, man. So I recently booked a trip in November. I think my only tips are like, you really should try to book maybe 5 or 6 months ahead of time. Don't book on Fridays because Fridays and Saturdays are like probably the most expensive tickets will be.
Tuesdays is a good day.
Tuesday is a good day. Tuesday at 1:30 is kind of like a legit rumor. Like I think there's like something about how airlines will refresh their systems, and check their seats, and then like we'll kind of base their prices, that week on those Tuesday prices or whatever. I guess my only gems for like going to Japan is you shouldn't exchange all your money. or your entire bankroll at the airport, because that's the most expensive. Like, you want to do it like outside of like the airport. Try to go to like a, I don't know, kind of like a cutty prefecture, which is kind of weird to say about Tokyo because everything's super safe. Because you'll probably get the best exchange in those kinds of areas. And yeah, it's probably about it. Book early, and you'll probably have a good time. You don't need to know Japanese at all, by the way, if you go to Japan. Everything's in English, and everyone that you talk to has like a base level understanding of what you're talking about. And
they all automatically assume you have a gigantic penis because you're white.
I actually got it.
Or whatever you are.
I got a pretty good story. So me and my friend, he's Peruvian. He's like 6 foot tall. We went to the temples a couple years ago, and a group of Japanese kids ran up to him, and they were like, "Can we get a picture?" And I was like, "Well, my friend is not famous at all, but he's like 6 foot tall." So we were like, "Yeah, whatever." So they got a picture, and then the kids are just chanting "Shaku, Shaku, Shaku," like they thought he was Shaquille O'Neal or some shit. And like their dad was furious. Like it was like a really fucking funny time. Those are my tips, DC. I hope you enjoy, and hopefully you go to Japan. It's a good country. All right, yeah, we'll start 2-man scramble now. I only have one like kind of point to make, I guess, and then one question for you, Mike.
Okay.
I just want to shout out Stardom. I think Mike alluded to it earlier. There was like a $4.99 charge on my PayPal, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. They stopped their fucking subscription on YouTube. So I was like, not salty because it's only $4.99, but I was like, you know, they shouldn't have charged me. They got back to me on Twitter like within a couple of minutes, and whoever helped me gave me like a free month of Stardom on the new website. I think it's $7.50 now, and I don't think you like a re-upped, Mike. Is that true? Yeah, it's too expensive for $7.50.
I would consider it if I could watch it on TV, but I can't without hooking my computer up. So
yeah,
I saw the guy with the derby hat.
Yeah,
has his own thing now, and I kind of want to see that. But.
Yeah, his show is amazing. Like, there's a segment where they just like this dude asks him about like what he thinks about certain wrestlers, and they ask him about Bull Nakano, and he was like, slow, fat. That's really all he says, and it's like, fuck, man. I guess his favorite like person is Akira Hokuto, which is warranted, but yeah, you should really watch that fucking that Rossi Ogawa segment. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, their customer service is really good, as opposed to Pro Wrestling Tees. I think you retweeted something about how the guy that handles their account was like, we only do marketing, we don't provide customer service. Yeah. And this was for a guy that like didn't get his order in, and it's been like 4 months, which was like totally shocking to me, which kind of validates my whole like stance on never ordering from their site.
Yes, as a dude who has done marketing for many businesses who have never even met me in real life or talked to somebody, I'd just be fired immediately. So, so like, I don't know, like Pro Wrestling Tees. I don't know who you're trying to fool with that bullshit, but that is some real bullshit.
Like, they just can't forward the note over, like, hey, can you like look into this guy's order? Like, are you kidding me?
I've dealt with some like really like problematic companies, and like can't just be like, yeah, you know, I only do social media. Like, I would just have been fired immediately. Okay, what was your question?
Okay, so Bret Hart, he recently took issue with WWE's 2K17 wrestler ratings and said the following: I went to a thing last fall where the latest 2K game was coming out. They were telling me how I was an 85 or something like that, and Triple H was a 98. I remember I was like, why would he be a 98? And they go, well, because he's the boss, and we have to suck it up to the boss. I don't know, he was kind of laughing about it. It kind of pissed me off. I thought, I don't care how many titles Triple H wins, he can never lace my fucking boots. Period. So my question was, at what age do you think it was revealed to Bret Hart that wrestling was scripted, and how do you think he reacted? Like, I honestly think, like, he probably found out that wrestling was scripted, like, fairly late. Like, I want to say, like, 19 or 20, and, like, he might have had, like, a fucking nervous breakdown.
I don't think it is scripted to him, though, because he's, like, his whole family is, like, so deep-rooted in it that he doesn't understand that, and like, no, like, 16-year-old kid wants to play as fucking Bret Hart, so it doesn't matter if he has an 85 rating or a 385 rating.
Right?
So, I don't know, man. That dude is just so gone. Like, if anybody's never read his book, like, it's not well written, but it is amazing. If you ever have enough time to read, like, a 900-page book of one guy blowing himself over and over again, it's a really good book.
My dream situation for the Montreal Screwjob is Vince was like, hey, Bret, we're going to fuck you over. And he's like, that's not how wrestling works. This is, what are you talking about?
I'm going to win.
I'm going to win. And that's why he was super shocked, because they told him like the actual like false finish or some shit.
Okay. Yeah, I have a bunch. but they're all like most of them are super short except for the last two, which is one is the What Culture one, and the other one is the little podcast we're going to talk about.
Oh shit!
But first up, this is super quick, just to update on something I said last week about how Nakamura's people chanting Nakamura's theme made me cringe. I was watching a video of his entrance they did in Japan, and I think that chanting is actually piped in because like they were still going on in Japan, and like they're showing the crowd and no one is chanting. So I think it's piped in. So I don't mind it anymore, I guess, if that's what they're going for.
I don't know, dude. Like there was a holy shit chant at Stardom. Like I really think like the WWE network is like kind of making a thing in Japan, and people like are following along to how Full Sail reacts.
I mean, it's possible, but like I was looking at the crowd and like they weren't chanting, so I don't know. Maybe it was like everybody in the rafters that you couldn't see, but it seems very odd.
Yeah, maybe.
Second is they released the J-Cup brackets today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I found out that the next time we record is basically like hours either before or after the J-Cup starts. And it sucks because I had an idea of us doing a J-Cup preview show where we just pretended we knew all of the people in it and just made up like all of this like background analysis about these people. Because like I'm a man enough to admit I'm not a big enough wrestling fan to know like 90% of these people. I know all the New Japan guys, and that's it.
Yeah, me too, man. Like there are some guys like that I have never heard of, and that'd be an amazing episode actually.
I was reading, they had like a preview on Wrestling with Words, which is a website. And I think those dudes follow us. So shout out to them. They maybe listen.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, those dudes are like, or whoever wrote it is just like, yeah, you know, you wouldn't even believe this guy is 45 years old. And it's just like, what? Like, why is this guy so old? Why is he in this? So, I don't have high hopes for this J-Cup. There's a guy in it named Tomato, and
I saw that guy. I'm rooting for that guy. That guy's probably fucking tight.
Yeah, but finding out like everybody is like the youngest people in it are like my age, or it's pretty sad. I mean, I assume like Ibushi has to win, but I don't know.
Ibushi's not even in it, is
I
he?
mean Bushi. Not,
Ingobernable's Bushi. I got you.
Yeah. Fuck. I think just close it. Okay, there we go. I was listening back to an old episode because we were recently like recommended. Because CZW fans out there is always shouting us out.
Appreciate it, CZW.
And he's always like, oh, you guys, like, he's always like hitting people up to listen to our shit.
Yeah.
And then it makes me nervous because, like, obviously I want people to listen to it. But then, like, I'm just like, man, I got to, like, listen to this episode again to make sure it's perfect before anybody listens to it. And so I was listening to, like, last episode or whatever when we were talking about, like, wrestling, like, Brian getting his picture with Hornswoggle and stuff.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it made me think about. I don't know why this popped in my head, but I think it's because he fucking took a picture with Shane Douglas. But I remember when I was like right out of high school or something, like it was still actually maybe it was a few years past. It was when ECW was in full swing, that's for sure. And my best friend at the time went to wrestling like that was taking place at our high school. Like, you know, just like some shitty local wrestling. And I don't know why I didn't go. I must have like been out of town or something, but, he like Missy Hyatt was going to be there. Like that was like the big star, I think. And, he wanted to get his picture with Missy Hyatt. And,
oh my God.
And this was, I guess I vaguely remember at one point she managed Shane Douglas in ECW, I think. Something like that.
Yeah.
But either way, she was managing a guy that just dressed up like Shane Douglas.
Like cosplayed like the franchise? Are you kidding?
Yeah, like he had like black and yellow everything, and like he's blonde and blue. Like he looked exactly like Shane Douglas. And like, so like my friend just had like a picture of him with Missy Hyatt and this dude who looks like Shane Douglas. And I was just like, why is that guy there? And he was just like, I had to take it with him, man. Like I couldn't just be with her. And I was just like, and I don't know. I wish I still kept in touch with that dude so I could like ask him if he still has that picture.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
How do you think Andrade is just dead in the water already or what?
Man, like I told you, man, I think his debut was fucked up because Ty Dillinger, the hottest wrestler in the game right now, like that kind of ruined his whole debut, and like first impressions are everything. Do I think he's dead in the water? I think he has to be heel. Like I think it makes more sense for him to be a bad guy. Like he's a great looking dude, and like he can totally play like a total dick face, and I think that'd work. I don't think he's connecting with the audience right now, but I think he still has a lot more time.
Yeah, I think he needs a new finishing move because I don't even understand how his finishing move works.
Yeah.
And he needs a name that is not 3 names that I can ever remember. And so, but yeah, I mean, like, whatever his last match was on NXT, he was getting like pre-Divas Revolution Diva reaction where people were just like talking to each other in the crowd, and that's not good.
Well, I think the story is that they had to record that match 3 times just because, I don't know, it wasn't perfect the first 2, so maybe that's why that's the reaction that they got, because they had to like run it back a couple times. That's what I read.
Okay then. Okay, second to last. Speaking of what culture, I forget where I saw this. I think it was either on Facebook or somebody tweeted it, but there was a what culture article, a listicle article that was like 10 star ratings that David Meltzer got wrong. And it was just like,
I'm gritting my teeth right now, dude. I'm just balling my fists up and getting real mad right now.
Yeah, and it was just like, I should have kept the link so I could give like actual examples, but it was just like, you know, like this match, like Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, 4 3/4 actual rating 5, and it's just like wow, dude, you are such a dork. Like, I know you're not getting paid to write this, and like, I don't know, man, people just need to leave Dave alone. Just stop it.
They're his ratings. I don't understand why people freak out about his opinion. Like, Jesus Christ, leave that old man alone.
Yeah,
like
just start
the whole Bayley the whole Bayley thing. What's your take on that, by the way?
Well, with him
and just him like, responding to everybody about it.
Yeah, I would have just been like, fuck you. Like, I'm right. I'm Dave Meltzer. Check the resume, motherfucker. And that's it. Like, that's what I would say to all these people. That would be my Twitter profile. I would just say, check the resume, bitch. And that would be it.
Yo, like, if I was Dave, I would just like, my profile pic would be a picture of my wallet. Like, that'd be amazing. That's what he should do. That'd be my favorite thing.
Have you made this much money off of wrestling? No? Oh, okay.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, like, I think he was right in saying that Bayley needs to go up if he wants to capitalize on marketing to your young girls. Like, that makes complete perfect sense and isn't sexist at all. Like, I don't know, like, how anybody could take umbrage with that, but, you know, wrestling fans are retarded, for a lack of a better term.
Stop going at the god. That's all I got to say about that.
Stop it. It's just like, I understand you want your space, but your shitty little podcast isn't going to replace like Figure 4 Online. It's not going to replace Wrestling Observer. Dude's been doing it since before your mother was born. Like, it's not going to fucking stop because you got a fucking iMic or whatever and you just started recording your bullshit on Podbean. Like, you're not going to take Dave Meltzer down, so just fucking stop.
I was ear hustling him and Sasuke talking, and he was like, hey, remember you and I were hanging out in the van in Tokyo? And I was like, I respect Dave so much because he has stories like that. Like, I don't respect your fucking Excel spreadsheets because Dave was hanging out with great Sasuke in a van. Like, he's the best.
In real life.
In real life. IRL, dude.
That dude will just drop. Like, yeah, I was at that Kabashi Masala match. Like, just like it's nothing. Like, where were you? You weren't even born yet. Just shut up. Okay, finally. Al put me onto this podcast last week.
Oh, shit.
I'm not going to name them because I don't believe in free promotion unless something is good.
Yeah.
You could hit me up if you want links to this. All I'll say is that
like 4 people hit us up about this link. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll gladly give anybody the link. I'm just not giving them free promotion. But very way back, if you're a long-time listener, I outed somebody as a girl on Twitter that started a GoFundMe to pay to go to a New Japan show in Japan, but not for a Japan trip. She was already going to Japan. She just needed $800 extra to go to a New Japan show, which seems kind of, you know, ridiculous. But so it turns out she has a podcast that Al told me about. It's her and some other guy who's I think legitimately said he had brain damage or something like that. And you know what? I listen to, like, I've said it before, I listen to a lot, and we'll get into it in our main segment. I listen to a lot of podcasts, not because I enjoy them, but I'm just like, I got to check out the competition. I'm trying to find out if there's anybody like us out there that we can maybe, you know, get something going with, just like anything like that. I'm always hustling, you would say.
Sure.
And so Al put me on this podcast, and I'll give them credit. It sounds great. It's already makes it better than 80% of other wrestling podcasts. It sounds great. It's not like completely cookie cutter, and you know, it's a guy and a girl, and that's kind of unique. So I'll still put them in the you know, the higher tier of horrible podcasts, but so Al sent me this episode where they were defending Roman Reigns' recent suspension, which I don't really care that he gets suspended. People get suspended for drugs and everything. I do drugs sometimes. Like, I don't give a shit. But their reasoning was because maybe he has a mental health problem where he was taking Xanax or, I don't even know, Prozac or something, some kind of drug like that, like Klonopin or, something that you need when you have anxiety or when you're bipolar or something like that. And legitimately, the entire podcast is about this subject. The GoFundMe girl, who mentions in the podcast that she has had a fiance for 10 years, and somehow he cannot afford to send her to that New Japan show, so she had to go out and go get on GoFundMe. So I don't know, maybe you should get a better fiance. But anyway,
goddamn, broke boy.
But like, she starts crying at one point, and like when Al texted me, he was like, yeah, she starts crying about this Roman Reigns thing. And I thought he just meant figuratively. No. And she starts crying like, she's like, I have a mental health problem. And like, I fucking lost it. Like, I got that thing where you're like, if you feel like that high, like that air in your chest where you're just like, where you're like laughing like a hyena because you're like about to cry. And it's just like, I don't get that a lot because I don't have very many emotions. So like, I don't get that feeling of true like ecstatic joy inside my body. But like, hearing these morons talk about how maybe Roman Reigns has a mental health problem and that's why he got busted. That is maybe the most moronic, asinine argument I've ever heard. If Roman Reigns was bipolar or had any sort of depression issues, I'm pretty sure like he would just go to the doctor and be like, yo, can you check me out? And they would give him a prescription. So I doubt like Roman Reigns would be illegally taking Xanax. Like, that seems like if he was like, oh man, I'm so fucking bipolar, but these pills, they cost a lot of money. So I don't have good insurance. So I'm just going to start taking them illegally. Seems very far-fetched. This is hands down the most ridiculous podcast I've ever heard. The humor is like that kind of like Chuck Norris meme humor. Like people still find like Chuck Norris memes funny. Like people probably like sincerely do Ace Ventura impressions and stuff like that. And like it's just, and like I said, the dude like kind of mentions he has brain damage or something, and like it's so many feelings and just so many misguided feelings and so much crying on a wrestling podcast, so much serious business voice. And to top it all off, of course, at the end of the episode, they ask for money because that's what you do when you're like a bunch of fucking bozos, is you ask for money. How about you rest on your laurels and let your laurels pay you instead of just asking like a fucking bum. But shout out to them for giving me like a solid hour of like cringe entertainment.
Also, they are prolific podcasters, mind you.
Yes.
I have nothing else to add. Mike has covered all the bases. We do check in on people that we think are funny. And I kind of make up backstories in my head about what their deal is. On top of that, wait, what was I going to say?
Like I said, I'll give them credit because like their podcast sounds great. I don't know how they do it over Skype. It sounds like perfect, but maybe get some better content.
Like, yeah, I mean, for me, we do like a comedy wrestling podcast. I hope to never ever reveal my personal problems to Mike over Skype for you guys on SoundCloud. Like that'll never happen. We don't even want to show our face.
Yeah, and then this girl says that she's never revealed this anymore. Oh, perfect place to reveal it? Wrestling podcast. Yeah. That's what you want to hear. That's like when I'm tuning in to hear like all my favorite wrestling podcasts, I want to hear about your fucking deep-seated problems.
Yeah, she was like, I've never even told my parents, but I'm going to talk about it now to you and to the wrestling community about my fucking illness, my invisible ailment.
And also, can you give us some money to do this podcast? Yeah, it sounds great. Sounds great. Sign me up. I want to give you $1,000.
Mike, there. I think we got to talk about our personal problems, dude. If you want to get real popping out here, we got to talk about how shitty we are. I don't know.
I guess so.
All right. Up next, our main segment. What did Mike and Al learn from being a part of the world's best wrestling podcast? Please stay tuned.
Trouble
head over heels in this love, funny. Thinking back, our friends thought it was just a play. I used to call you on the phone late night, macking tea in your ears, conversation well equipped.
Okay, we're back here with Virtual Pros, episode 20. This is our big 20th anniversary. We've been doing this for almost 40 weeks. I think it's been technically like 39 weeks.
Since November. I don't know how, what's the week count on that? 40? Damn.
Yeah, it's been a while. So here we are. We decided we should do some kind of retrospective show.
Yep.
And so we are going to do what we've learned from being the best wrestling podcast. I am not going to toot our horn that much. I will say we are the best wrestling podcast that has nothing to do with actual wrestlers or the business of wrestling. As far as amateurs out there, we are the best. You can challenge me on that, and you are going to lose. Trust me.
You know what I will say, man? Just to start off the self-high-fiving, I think we might be the most creative podcast.
Oh, for sure. And that is... I'll start that. That'll be my first point. So I wanted to do this topic as like what we learned as being the best wrestling podcast because I went into doing this podcast with Al as a person who has been podcasting for my whole life, basically. It's like since 2008 I've been doing podcasts. I've conquered the medium of podcasts as far as I'm concerned. I mean, maybe I'm not like my podcasts aren't as popular as I'd like them to be, but I think as far as quality, they're up there. And I was like, oh, this will be like shooting fish in a barrel. Like, we're just going to have thousands of listeners, like, immediately. And I did not understand that, like, wrestling, the world of wrestling, the community of the internet wrestling community, the community of, like, wrestling podcast. Again, another misconception I had was that I thought there was maybe 7 wrestling podcasts when we started this. I was like, oh, we'll be the 8th one. Like, this is perfect. We're going to be so popular. It's going to be Stone Cold, Virtual Pros, Roddy Piper podcast or whatever. Like, I was like, that's it. That's going to be the iTunes rankings. So like I went into this thinking like all this stuff, like all this great stuff about wrestling podcasts and how easy it was going to be.
Yep.
And little did I know that was not true at all. It's like a completely different world out there when it comes to wrestling podcasts versus any other podcast. So I just wanted to highlight the reasons. And as Al just alluded to, wrestling outside of people who just do a podcast where they review Game of Thrones or like Walking Dead.
Oh, shit.
Wrestling podcasts are easily like the most devoid of like artistry and creativity out there. Like, it is insane. I don't even understand why you are bothering putting your fucking face to a microphone or what you're doing, hitting record when all you're going to do is talk about Raw and your feelings on Raw. Or, you know, maybe you'll get a little spicy and talk about some wrestling news and give your feelings on that wrestling news. And I don't like I said, I searched far and wide, and there's very few podcasts outside of established ones like Japanese audio wrestling, like those kind of podcasts where they're like, you know, those dudes like live in Japan and they speak English and, you know, they got their fingers on the pulse. So I don't need to listen to any other Japanese wrestling podcast because I could just listen to those dudes and they could tell me everything. So like outside of like people like that, like, if you're just doing a podcast where it's you and your buddies like talking for 2 hours about how you felt about Raw and like how you feel about the newest NXT sightings, just fucking stop. Like, no one is like at home watching CNN going, man, this news sucks. Let me go and ask that dude at Jiffy Lube what he thinks about this news. Like, maybe he has some inside scoops about what's happening in Iran right now. Like, no, that doesn't happen because, you know, you don't do that with amateurs. And I just don't understand, like, you have this platform. It's a very easy platform to get into. It's super cheap. And I'll get into that in my second topic. But it's super cheap. You can do literally anything to your heart's desire. And what you want to do is the most base level, easiest thing possible, which is watch a show that people put their blood, sweat, and tears in and spend millions of dollars to make and millions of dollars to promote. And it takes tons of people to put it together. And then your fat, sweaty ass is going to sit in front of a microphone and just be like, oh, I didn't like this. And this is why. Like, and there's fucking hundreds of you. And why do you fucking do this? No one cares about your fucking opinion. You're just like a little piece of shit. Just fucking quit. The end.
That entire segment, I'm just going to put the fuck Master Flex bombs underneath that. And it's going to sound real fucking good. So I guess the biggest thing that I learned from like starting this project, we started in November, so it's been a couple months. Like, we're close to a year almost, I feel like. Yeah, we might be in the 1% of wrestling podcasters that care about audio quality, and we might be the 1% that have a bass in our voice. Like, it's not like I'm like some professional speaker or anything, but like to me, it's like borderline unlistenable to hear like a combination of both like bad audio quality and like nasally voices, like firing off their hot takes about Roman Reigns. Like, I can't deal with it. Like, you know, like you, I was like, man, there might be another like podcast we can latch onto and build a network that way. Because right now, like, the numbers are pretty good. Like, they're going up and to the right, and I'm happy about that. But at the same time, like, I understand that we do like a super niche podcast, and not everyone that's going to want like an opinion on Raw is going to listen. And I'm okay with that. I didn't seek out like a billion listeners, but I understand that like, there might be more wrestling fans out there that want to like hear takes about Dean Ambrose being champion than us talk about Super Delphin. That's fine. But I mean, for me, it just takes like a little effort to like buy like a $60 microphone and like run your audio through like the noise removal command through Audacity. Like, it's not that hard. Like, put a little effort into your show. Like, you're putting it out for the public to consume. I think it's worth your time to do that at least. I mean, it's not like we have the best sounding podcast because, I kind of take some joy in, when people tell us or tell me personally that like, wait, you and Mike aren't in the same room? I'm like, no, like, I'm in Oakland, he's in Brooklyn. Like, I take some pride in like knowing that our show sounds that good to where people can't like discern that like we're not, in person. So yeah. I take some pride in it, honestly. But if you're doing these shows like where you're sharing a mic, like, your podcast is trash, you should stop. Like, just reevaluate and like put some pride into what you're doing. But yeah, like, edit it and take some pride. I really wish that a lot of you guys would. Like, you'd make your product a lot better. You're creative a lot better. Yeah,
you're creative. Yeah, that is actually my second thing, so I'll just piggyback on that and say that first off, I just want to shout out there's a promotion, an independent promotion in Cleveland called AIW.
Yeah.
And they just started a podcast called This Card is Subject to Change. And their podcast is like my new favorite any podcast, not even wrestling podcast. Like, they're just fucking killing it.
Yep.
So if you guys are searching for a podcast that's as good as ours, check them out because it's super fucking good. But yeah, the audio thing was my second thing. It is amazing to me. Like I said, I started podcasting in 2008 with some shitty microphone, some shitty room mic, because like back then, like there was no such thing as USB mixers. There wasn't like all of this easy Skype. There wasn't shit like that. Like, yep. It was just like, if you wanted a pro sounding podcast, you had to spend pro money. And, so it was still like back then, it was okay. Like, it wasn't like you knew you weren't going to be like Ricky Gervais or anything, but like, you heard like a lot of podcasts that sounded kind of shitty. And then like 2010 rolled around and it was just like, you couldn't do that anymore. Like 2010, USB mixers were out. You could buy like podcast kits for like $100. Like, it was, it was just like super cheap. So like, if you still had a shitty sounding podcast, you're just kind of trash. And so it is amazing to me that in 2016, 90% of wrestling podcasts sound like pure fucking garbage. And I just don't understand like what your mentality is when you're just like, I have opinions, but I don't care what they sound like. A good example, I would probably say their name if I could remember what it was called, but it might even be something connected to Wrestling with Words. So I apologize for propping you up earlier if I'm about to talk some shit. But, one of those like blogs, all those blogs have 9 million fucking podcasts.
Yep.
And, they just started one that was like the history of the Noah championship title. And I was like, oh, that's like a cool subject. Like, I'll check that out. Put it on. It starts off. The one dude's talking, and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." He introduces the second dude. Second dude sounds like he's on a fucking payphone 4 million miles away inside of a toilet. And I was just like, "Click off." Like, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. If you can't spend like $25 to not sound like trash, then I don't care about your opinion. I mean, it's so cheap, dude. Like, get a fucking like. I understand like a lot of these people are like actual kids, and they probably don't have. I mean, actually, you know what? You should have disposable money. You don't pay fucking bills. Like, You should have tons of disposable money. I was buying such dumb shit when I was a kid. You can spend $60 on a microphone, but, if you're poor, I don't know, dude. Like, fucking collect some cans or something until you have enough to start, like, a legit-sounding podcast. It's not that hard. Like, trust me, as far as, like, the wrestling genre goes, you are the only, like, subgenre of podcasts that sound like garbage still. So you need to step it up. Stop using fucking Podbean. All this fucking whack ass hosting. Just stop it. Just get some real shit. And, you know, like, there's people that, you know, I don't want to name names because we trash their podcast a lot. There's a podcast out there that, like, they call themselves, like, the blah blah network. And it's like, you're not a fucking network if you can't even buy a fucking good microphone.
God damn.
Like, it's just, like, shit like that. Like, I don't know. And, you know, the thing that pisses me off the most, and this ties in with number one that I just said, is that this is the reason that we don't have a bunch more listeners, is because a bunch more like level-headed people have already been like, let me give wrestling podcasts a try, and they hear 10,000 that sound like fucking total trash, and they're like, I'm never listening to a wrestling podcast again because they're all done by spazzy retards. Sorry for that term, but like, and so like now we have to like fucking beg people to check us out and have like people co-sign us because like people just think we're like assholes because, you know, that's what all other wrestling podcasts are. And it's a bummer that, you know, you are polluting everything. So again, just fucking quit.
I guess my last thing that I learned is that you really can't plan for what people will latch onto. But, you know, in general, I'm still pretty happy about the work we've done overall. Like, sometimes there'll be things that I'll personally, like, will, like, meticulously think about and plan to post on Twitter or Instagram or even on Virtual Pros, and, like, no one will give a shit. But then there are times where, like, I'll just like put like a throwaway joke or a gif and it'll be the most poppin' shit ever. Like Matthew of Botchamania, he follows us. Thanks, Matthew, for
yes.
that retweet of John Cena, that joke that I made. And that thing got like 110,000 views. And I was like, I did that shit at work. Like I didn't think twice about it. And all of a sudden, like it might be the most popular thing that we ever did. So like I still can't figure it out. Like I'm kind of like an older man, so I don't really know what trends are going on that will get us popping, but it's still kind of like a crapshoot almost. Like, I think the most listened to episode might be the episode where we talk about how to explain, your wrestling fandom to a girl. And like that's an episode that like we kind of planned out, and I'm glad that, you know, panned out. But like the Super Shame Crown episode, still like a good amount of downloads, but I thought that would be the one that will like put us over the hump.
Yeah.
But
I thought that was going to be it.
Yeah. But then, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, from what I've learned, I have other endeavors on the internet that have blown up, I will say. Like, you know, I've made a good amount of money off of internet endeavors. And I will say, the one thing I've learned from that is that not only can you not prepare for what's going to be popular, it's like chances are it's going to be popular like a year after you forgot about it.
Oh shit!
And then somebody's going to finally find it and be like, "Oh shit!" And it's going to be after you stop caring about it. And that's just how shit works, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was like, man, this episode is going to get us cracking. And then the later episode, I think it's about it's the one where we rebook characters. That one got like way more fucking like downloads, and I was like, well, shit. Like, I don't know what's ever going to pop and what's not. So that's always been kind of a shock to me. So I guess the lesson here is that like generally posting stuff that's like organic or like spur of the moment is what like really resonates with the people that follow us. And the things that you like meticulously plan out, they can sometimes brick on you. Like with that said, like it still kind of freaks me out that like people like listen to our show. Like when people email us, I'm like still like genuinely shocked. Or like when I see the numbers, I'm like, wow, this many people listen to us. Like, I know you're used to it, but for me, like, I still can't get used to the fact that like 20% of our listener base is overseas.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Like, I'm glad we're finding the right people. I'm glad, like, it's like, my other podcast is about movies, and it's good because it's not like an industry I'm involved in. So I can talk as much shit as I want about movies and not feel bad.
Yeah.
There's other things that, you know, I'm involved in and I can't be as unpolitical about because it's just like, you know, I don't want to step on any toes. As far as wrestling goes, like I don't ever really trash wrestlers. And so I don't care about trashing other people's podcasts or like trashing other wrestling fans. So like my conscience is clear. So I love this time that we get to do this because, I don't want to be a part of you if you're trash anyway. So I don't need to like kiss ass and shake hands on this podcast. So it's great. I will say though that, you mentioned Matthew, and as fanboy as this sounds, I am like, as far as like accomplishing things with this podcast, I'm so glad that dude fucks with us because like I've been watching Botchamania forever. It is probably one of my favorite things to like ever come out of wrestling. And like, it's so cool to me that dude's like, yeah, those dudes are cool. So
like that shit still bugs me out that people in the industry, like the boys, like there are some people like that are pretty well known that like listen to our shit, and I'm like, wow, like that happened, and it's just been like a kind of revelation for me that like if you kind of stick to something and you kind of stay true to yourself, it's gonna sound super ABC special. Like things could pan out, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So my last one is just again more just hating. It is a thing like it goes just hand in hand with everything I've already said. Another thing with wrestling podcasts that I just don't understand is that I guess like when you're a wrestling fan, you just, you need to know it all, I guess. I guess it's just like,
oh, dude, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's just like anime or something. I don't follow anime, but I'm sure like if you're an anime fan, it's the same shit. But yeah, with wrestling, it's like you seem to know it all. So when you have a podcast, you always have to sound like you're an authority on things. Like you can't ever make mistakes or just like sound like a fan. You always have to sound like you know what the fuck you're talking about. Do that serious tone when you're talking about raw ratings and stuff. Just stuff you shouldn't even care about to begin with. And I've said this a million times. If you're not getting paid to do this, like, don't be that guy. Like, you're just a fan, just like me, just like everybody else. So to sound like you're some authority and like, it's just dumb. Just don't do it. It's okay. Like, it's so dumb how serious people are about wrestling. It's fucking adults fake fighting. Like, you don't need to be serious about this. It's fun. It's like a fun hobby. If you want to make money off of it, just try like to actually put work into making money off of it. Don't just start your bulk site to make some shitty t-shirts. Like, just don't do shit like that. Just like put like effort into it and like just tie all these things I said together and listen to them. And if you don't listen to them, just fucking quit, because no one needs you. No one needs like the time you're wasting. Time is precious on this earth, and you're wasting a lot of it. So just fucking stop.
No, since we started the Twitter, like I've noticed like a lot of these, like, I guess pop-in Twitter accounts will like vanity like shit. Like they'll say they like something just because they want to get on the train early. Like for example, like no one gave a fuck about Cody Rhodes like a couple months ago, right? And then all of a sudden he quit and he went on the indies, and they're like, oh yeah, I saw Cody Rhodes. Like I saw the potential. I'm latching on. And I'm like, come on, like, why would you ever want to be a tastemaker in professional wrestling? That's like the weirdest fucking thing to me. Besides our podcast, we are tastemakers. But other than that, like, a lot of people...
We're tastemakers
like,
in a different way, though. It's different.
It's just like, come on, dude. Like, you're not an authority, like you said. Just be a fan. I don't understand why people want to be some kind of like... Rob Naylor, I guess, he follows us too. And I feel like a lot of people try to be that dude. But that guy has like actual experience like in the business with the boys and creatives. And like... It's cool that you want to do that, but like to me, that comes off as super weird to me, and I never want to be that show or that guy or that personality on the internet.
I have like I know there's a lot of polarizing opinions with Rob. I've like always been cool with that dude since before podcasts even existed. I'm glad he fucks with us, and like that dude is like the most positive dude about wrestling. So until you get on that level, like I don't like everybody's always a crabby bitch about wrestling. If you're gonna be crabby about it, don't fucking watch it. It's pretty easy. Like, I mean, I always tweet crabby shit about Raw and stuff because it's funny. Like, I don't like. I'm still spending my time watching this, so I still have some kind of emotional interest in it. Like, if you're just gonna be a crabby bitch all the time, just stop watching it. Just fucking watch anime or just watch anything else. Watch a real sport. Just like they're all like people are always like waiting to hate. Like they can't like. Like it's like you said, except the opposite. Like New Day gets popular, so it's like I gotta be the first to hate on New Day.
Right.
End Zone Cast get popular. I gotta be the first to hate on them, and it's just like you're not fucking cool, man. This is again, as adults pretending to fight each other. There's nothing to be cool about this.
That was kind of like that was gonna be my third point. Like I think we're the only fans that do podcasts because everyone tries to sound like fucking Dave about like you know here's how wrestling should be, and here's who's next, and here's who sucks. And I'm like, man, I just want to sit down like on my couch and watch New Japan to be entertained.
Yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand the end game in doing that. Like, it's not like Dave Meltzer is going to hear your podcast and be like, oh shit, here you go. Here's my empire. Here's all my money. Like, that's never going to happen, dude. Like, it's not like fucking, I don't know, AJ Styles isn't going to listen to your fucking podcast and be like, oh, Vince, you got to hear this podcast on Podbean. It's grapsnews.podbean.com. They sound like they're in a toilet, and I really like it. You should hire these guys and make them millionaires. That's never gonna happen either. So like, I just don't know. Make your shit fun. Do something different, or just fucking quit.
This is the saltiest fucking segment we've ever recorded. Up next, VRTL mixtape with Super Leather, Hido, M-Pro Throwbacks, Tanahashi. Kind of like a varied mixtape, I feel like. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Virtual Pros episode 20. I hope you guys got a cup of water after all that salt that we fucking just dropped on you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in, always. 20 episodes in, we have a fair amount of subscribers, and, it still brings a smile to my face that a lot of you listen and, write us in. Truthfully. Up first is Mike's match that he picked.
Yes, on that subject that Al said, as the saltiness I just spat out. I don't care if you're a nerd or a retard. If you still fuck with us, I'm down with you. I appreciate it so much. Like anybody, I always sound like aloof even on my other podcasts. Like I don't care about this stuff. Our whole gimmick on my other podcast is people send me snacks from all over the world. I've gotten snacks from 5 of the 7 continents of the world from people who are just like, let me spend $50 on sending this dude a fucking bag of chips.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that shit so much. I appreciate anybody who listens to this. I appreciate anybody who gives us recommendations on anything in this podcast. Like anything, you retweet anything we do. You're people, even now, with Twitter, people are like they're too cool to retweet you or shit like that. Like anybody who fucks with us like that, I completely, truly appreciate it. So thank you.
I will say though, I sent Mike maybe $60 worth of Kit Kats for his other podcast, and he shit on every single one of them.
I didn't even shit on them that hard.
I was kind of mad because I spent, the time and the energy to buy all these fucking varied Kit Kats, and he's like, "This is all right. This is all right."
I'm gonna fucking find that episode, and I'm gonna write a transcript. And our next episode is just gonna be me reading the transcript of what I said because I didn't shit on him that hard.
You and Doan, man. Doan was actually more supportive, but I was like, "Man, fuck these guys. I'm never getting them snacks ever again."
Whatever, man. Whatever. So my first match. Speaking of saltiness, I'm gonna get right back into it. My first match was Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Prince Devitt, aka Finn Balor, from the 2010 G1 Climax. I picked this match because the G1 Climax is coming up, and people are talking about it. And the other reason I picked this match is because I knew this episode was going to be very salty, and I think the thing I hate the most about wrestling Twitter is that people hate on Finn Balor so hard. And I don't know why it pisses me off, but again, it's just one of those things he's not even on Raw yet, and you're hating on him like he's a fucking has-been. And so I chose this match, and I honestly did not take any notes on this. This is a great, wonderful match that everybody should watch. It's super short, and it is a true underdog match. Tanahashi's going in this match is the fucking king ass beater, and Prince Devitt isn't even Bullet Club Prince Devitt yet. He is just this dude in this weird tag team, and he has some fans, but he's not hot shit yet.
Yep.
And he goes move for move with the ace Tanahashi. And the only note I wrote down is that my favorite rap lyric that Eminem ever ghost wrote for Dr. Dre is, now you want to run around talking about guns like I ain't got none. What do you think, I sold them all? And that line resonates with me more than so many rap lines. And that's just that is this match. Do you think Finn Balor sold all his guns, do you think he is shitty now just because it's like 5 years later? Like, watch this match. Do you think that dude still can't do all this shit? Like, he's just working a different style because he's in WWE. So get off of his dick. He's still fucking amazing. He's going to be amazing in WWE. So just stop fucking hating on the man. Jesus fucking Christ. Give him a second to give him a reason to hate. And that's literally the only note I have. That's all I give a fuck about. Stop hating on this dude. In my mind, I feel like I want to believe that people religiously watch our mixtape. And I want those people to be all these Finn Balor haters out there that just hate on him. And I want them to watch this match and be like, Mike was right. He did not sell those guns. He still has those guns.
I don't know why Mike registered his WWE shop account to Virtual Pro 64 because there was like a receipt that came in, and I read the receipt, if you don't mind, Mike. There was like 2 Finn Balor wristbands. There was the mask, and I was just like, man, I don't know. So you might want to change your email address, Mike, to your personal one, because I can see that stuff. So I'm currently watching this Japanese reality TV show called Terrace House. It's kind of like Japanese Real World, and if you're like a huge fan of like San Diego or like New Orleans, like you will love this show because it's just like that. And all the dudes on that show have like very swoopy hair, and this is like filmed like last year. And Tanahashi, this match was in 2010. He has swoopy hair, and as far as I can remember, Japanese people like had swoopy hair, and I don't think this hairstyle's ever gonna get played out. Like I think in America, like there's phases. Like I think a couple years ago, like people had like a lot of faux hawks. And now people have a lot of side parts, and Japan is just staying strong with that swoopy hair. And credit to Tanahashi for staying true. One of my notes was, instead of Tanahashi using Instagram to take outfit of the day posts, I kind of wish he'd just do this with his like wrestling clothes, but still take them like in normal places. Like that'd make me laugh pretty hard. Tanahashi has like the best dragon screw leg whips in the game.
Yeah,
he's the best at that. Like, and no one comes close. Devitt hits like this great looking like delayed tope con hilo, and Tanahashi makes no effort to catch him, and he kind of just goes for like the N64 Aki engine cell, where like he gets knocked down like he took a clothesline instead of like trying to catch him, and I thought that was pretty funny. Devitt yells "Hiya" in a very stereotypical manner, and I took issue to that. Watching Tanahashi ascend the ropes, also one of the great joys of pro wrestling, and still to this day, I do not understand how the sling blade works. Like, when he does, like, the cross around with his arm, like, it just feels like a frame is skipped, and I still, like, I don't see it. It's like an optical illusion. Like, it's fucking amazing to me still. The hold the top rope spot while sitting on the middle rope and waiting to get, like, stomped or leg dropped is, like, my number one, like, most hated spot. But they might have done it the best I've ever seen it done in this match. And that was it.
Yeah, it's a great match. Like I said, respect the man. Please start hating on him.
The match that I picked was Davina Rose, a.k.a. Bayley, versus Christina Von Eerie from 6/26/2009, BTW, Newark, California. That's NorCal for those that don't know.
I thought it was New Jersey because they said Newark.
Same spelling, man.
Oh.
Yeah. It's kind of like maybe an hour away from Oakland.
Okay.
So I picked this match as kind of like a response to the match that we picked for Sasha Banks. I've personally attended a BTW show in Newark, and all I can remember from that day is that their top guy is like, his name is Shane Cody, and he's like a Blackjack cosplayer, like, Blackjack Mulligan. He's like 60 years old, and my friend, he sees this dude at the local buffet every time he goes, and he doesn't go very often, but every time he's gone to this buffet, he saw Shane Cody, and I think that's like an amazing story.
Just to go back to my Shane Douglas lookalike thing. The wrestling that always took place in my area, I like, just various independent shitty wrestling. There was this one guy on it named Ron Zombie, who, despite having a name like Rob Zombie, you would think he looked like Rob Zombie. No, he dressed just like Cactus Jack, but his name was Ron Zombie. And, when he wasn't being a lame wrestler, and, he worked at the kiosk at the mall, like selling like I don't even know, I don't even know what the fuck it was because it was so long ago. It was like fucking giant cell phone cases, like just shitty giant cell phone cases or something like that. But yeah, so it was like you could go see a real wrestling superstar, Ron Zombie, just working at a kiosk at the mall like a teenager.
Ron Zombie just selling irons that you can fucking like.
I'm very sure he still has a Facebook page too. If you want to like Ron Zombie on Facebook.
I'm gonna peep Ron Zombie's page. I also peep Shane Cody. That dude, like, I looked him up afterwards, and like he's been like wrestling for like 23 years, and it's pretty sad. Yeah. So Christina Von Eerie, 916 Sacramento native. Shout out to the Gully Blanchard podcast. and Bayley is from San Jose, so I guess this is a battle for NorCal lady supremacy. Both of these announcers, they both do not have bass in their voice, so their commentary is kind of grating to listen to. I guess one of them is named Junior, and one is named Dragon Dave. Dragon Dave, I'm not surprised that that's his name, just listening to his voice. Von Erie attacks Davina, aka Bayley, from behind, and he calls it a Pearl Harbor job, which is 2 for 2 for racist shit that I heard on this podcast, or this mixtape.
That was in my notes also.
Yeah, it kind of makes me want to start a counter for all the problematic shit I hear about fucking Asian people in wrestling. Junior, I guess his name is, he goes on and on about how great Christina Von Erie's triceps and abs are, and Mike's take about how sexless wrestling fans describe women like ponies, like, has never had more credence than now. Like, I was listening to that shit, and I was like, damn, Mike is right. Like, dudes that like girls, like, describe them like horses. It's fucking weird. Christina Von Erie, she slaps on a camel clutch on Davina Rose, and the top of her butt is showing, and Junior says, I hope she doesn't crack, and Dragon Dave says, he's like stammering, mind you, by the way, when he says this. He's like, excellent shot by the cameraman, which kind of leads me to believe that he just like bricks his like sweatpants while talking about Christina Von Erie's butt. I guess overall, like, this match like goes nowheresville for me, but you can definitely see how like much better Bayley got since she got to NXT.
So I have seen Christina live a few times.
Yeah. When was your first time that you saw her? Because for me, I saw her when she was managing Jon Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, and
I think
that was crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if it was the first time I saw her, but she was when she was managing Tozawa and Dragon Gate.
Yeah.
So to use like a professional technical term, Christina Von Erie is what they call a smoke show. She is a total babe outside of that crazy mohawk. I'm not into like the punk look, but you know, when she doesn't have like the crazy mohawk, she is super babe. And so yeah, I had mixed feelings about this match because it is no secret that she is a babe. But it is very awkward when the announcers are talking. Like, it's literally like she comes out and like the dude's like, "Oh, she's hot." Like, he says it just like that. And,
yeah.
First he says, "What a looker," and then he says, "She's hot." And the other guy has to kind of like be, because you know she's supposed to be the heel, so he's kind of like, "Oh, you know, she used to be, but now she's like this crazy punker." And also at the time, I mean, when I said she was a smoke show, I meant like 2 years ago. Like, she's 19 here. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's of legal age, but I'm sure these guys that are talking about her are way over 19. And
I'm not sure, man.
Also, like, I don't know what the deal is, but I think Christina Von Erie is not well liked in the wrestling community anymore. I feel like I've heard some bad stories about her. I can't remember what, so I'm not going to slander her. But I also wrote down that this match takes place in 2009, June 26th. Still using that Pearl Harbor job reference, which is kind of sketchy. My only other real note, besides the crack thing that I also wrote down, but Bayley is in some basic ass ring gear, and she looks like she's going to go work out at Planet Fitness, and it's insane to, like, you know, all of the people you see at indie wrestling, like, she's not the one that you would think would stick out and become. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's in WWE's hands, but she may go down as the most popular women's wrestler of all time in WWE if they play their cards right. So it's kind of like insane to look at her in this like boring ass spandex, just like, you know, in some shitty gym or shitty like banquet hall and think like, yeah, she's going to be like maybe the biggest women's star in wrestling of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, she's already like pretty close. Like, as far as like female fans go, she has to be in like the top 5 already. So.
Oh, easy.
And I think this match only has like 500 views. So it's not the best match, but as far as like historical purposes go, you know, when you do your inferior Podbean podcast, maybe you could watch this and talk about it, how you found it or something like that. It's on YouTube. It's on our mixtape. So you don't have to give us credit. Just pretend like you're a fucking know-it-all and you watched this match in 2009.
I forgot to add, I noticed that Bayley kind of has the Mayu Iwatani thing where she does not look the same twice anytime I see her. So I don't know what's going on with her face, but, Bayley, what's up, Bayley? Also, I forgot to note that when I was at that show, there was a Filipino dude wrestling, and he kind of looked like Eric Spoelstra, and every time my friends and I would yell like, "Hey, Spoelstra," he got really mad at us.
I don't know who that is.
Eric Spoelstra, the coach for the Miami Heat.
Oh, okay.
Come on, man.
I know who you're talking about now.
Check the tape. Listen to that show.
Check the tape podcast. Yeah, they would know. Okay, so my last match is Bad Boy Hido, before he was known as Bad Boy Hido, versus Super Leather from FMW, June 19th, 1998. Again, another summer match. The reason I picked this match is here in America, we just celebrated Independence Day, and I cannot think of anything more American than being a washed-up American wrestler, putting on a leather-faced Halloween mask and going to Japan and just like making tons of money, like after you're washed up. Like that is like the most American thing ever. Much respect to Super Leather. I don't know if this was Corporal Kirshner Super Leather or the other guy who played Super Leather, but both American, both great heroes of our country. And I can't remember if I saw this match back when it was more relevant, but this was, for some reason, I did not know, like in my mind, Team No Respect wasn't a thing in 1998, but this was like full on Team No Respect. And I guess like the story behind this match was that this was kind of a loser leaves town match between Super Leather and Hido.
Yeah.
And so they like the match starts out and it seems like the rest of Team No Respect is in Super Leather's corner, but Hido's still sporting the Team No Respect shirt. For you youngins out there, in FMW in its end days, there was a super group of heel stable called Team No Respect of Wing Kanamura, Kota Fuyuki, Hido and Gato and Jado.
Yep.
Go Ito, I think his name was.
Yep.
And I was Ryuji. What was the other guys? Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan. I don't know.
I know what he looks like. I just can't his name is Kuroda. No, is Kuroda in it? I can't remember. It doesn't fucking matter. No one cares. But anyways, I really like them. They did this cool dance and then they grabbed their dicks and it was really great. But anyway, so yeah, they had this match and it's the YouTube video describes it as wild brawl. I wouldn't go that far. They brawl. This is Carrican Hall, correct?
Yep.
And yeah, they brawl like all over Carrican Hall. There is Hido is wearing some pants that look like tight little kid sweatpants. I don't know if that is what they are.
They look like joggers, and I was like, damn, Hido's kind of stylish right now.
Yeah, it's just like it's real weird. It's like the first this match is I think 12 minutes. The runtime on the YouTube video is 18 minutes, and when you see the competitors, if you're familiar with both Hido and Super Leather, you're like, what the fuck can they be doing for 18 minutes? So I was very curious when I was like, this has to be some epic shit, because what are these two guys going to do for 18 minutes? And it turns out for 8 of those minutes, they're just walking around Carrican Hall. There's a part where like they walk each other up to the balcony area and they do like some bad, like throwing off the balcony teases where like Super Leather is very like visibly just holding Hido so he doesn't fall over. And he does the same thing to the ref. And like he almost drops the ref. So he has to like kind of like reach down and grab the ref before he drops him to make it look even worse. And then they work their way back down, and there's a lot of, I guess it was raining that day, so there's a lot of people with umbrellas, and Super Leather is just grabbing people's umbrellas, and beating Hido with them, and then throwing the umbrellas like all over the place. I'm sure Japan is much like New York City, where you just walk on a corner and buy an umbrella for $5. Yep. But I would be fucking pissed if like, I was in the rain, I came to this wrestling, probably on the, public transportation, I'm sitting there trying to enjoy myself. And some dipshit grabs my umbrella and uses it as a prop and then just throws it. I have to go buy another fucking umbrella. That's why I hate umbrellas and I never use them, because I'm just living in fear that one day Super Leather is going to grab them and use them as a weapon against Hido.
I have to add that this got a huge reaction all 4 times you did it. I kept count. And Carrican Hall is freaking out just because, yeah, how inconsiderate that you're breaking these people's umbrellas and just fucking throwing them. It's disgusting.
But yeah, I mean, this match, like, I don't know. I'm just very, for this and like the Michinoku Pro matches coming up, I'm just like very nostalgic for this shit. And you could like, I looked on, is it Bahu? Is that how he pronounces his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bahu fucks with us too. He follows us on Twitter. That dude has been in the game forever. I think he lives in Japan.
For fucking, he's like hanging out with Onita and like Mr. Gansuke, and that guy's been on AOL like ever since I can remember. That guy's a G.
Bahu's been fucking with FMW since like, the mid to early 90s. And that dude is like on Twitter and he still looks like he's like 22 years old. I don't know what his secret is, but I like, even when I was like, when I was like 19, I was just like, Bahu is probably like 47 years old.
No.
But he's not. He's like still 22 years old. He just has like the secret fountain of youth. But yeah, so like, I don't even know.
Bahu was 7 years old watching Leon Spinks and Atsushi Onita taking notes, like with me watching AAA.
Yeah, but I don't even remember what my point was, but I was like looking on his page when I was like following this. And I was thinking like, I mean like, I would never do it because I don't have the time or like the capacity in my brain to do it. But somebody just needs to like take his website, modernize it, and just like add all of the videos. And I would pay somebody to do that just for my own amusement because like I'm so nostalgic for this FMW stuff. I know it's not for everybody, but like I know you kids and your like weird promotions that you have now in Japan, like, and you pretend they're like the greatest and you think all these guys are the greatest wrestlers. That's how I felt about FMW. Like, back in the day, I would have been pumped to see Bad Boy Hido fight Super Leather, and they both suck. Like, straight up, they both fucking suck. Like, if Super Leather used to be down with Sergeant Slaughter and Hulk Hogan back in the day, like, he had his glory days. He's now over in FMW doing stupid shit, grabbing people's umbrellas, beating this other guy in his tight sweatpants that hardly knows how to wrestle. And at one point in my life, this was the greatest entertainment ever. So I just like, I understand this is not the best match, but to me, like, it's just so nostalgic. I love this match. I think everybody should watch it.
If someone really did that whole thing with Bahu's like getting modernized and having every single match on demand, I would pay so much money for that shit.
For sure. Like, I always say it, but I really need to like look through IVP and Rudo Reels to just see, like, I just need all the FMW and all the Michinoku Pro.
Like 97 through like 99. Like, I didn't really care about like this era, like the Red Ring FMW era, but like anything before that is like one of my favorite eras. Hido, husband of Hall of Fame WrestleBay Megumi Kudo, who might be making her return soon. That's kind of crazy. Versus the Irie version of Super Leather. Like, I had a question for you. Like, did he always have dreadlocks? Because I don't remember Super Leather having dreadlocks.
That's the thing. Like, there was two, and I can't remember which one's Corporal Kirshner. But yeah, there's like the regular Leatherface. He didn't have dreads, and Super Leather is the one with the dreads. But I never remember which one is which. Yeah,
I like this Irie version. He's tight. So both of these guys are like fighting in the hallway of Korakuen Hall, and you kind of see this mom like in the middle of the fracas, and she just like tries to peace out and leave, and that made me laugh really hard. On my count, like I said, four people are owed umbrellas because Super Leather keeps stealing them from fans. And he keeps on hitting Hido with them. And like after he hits Hido with them, he throws him into the crowd kind of indiscriminately. And then Hido blades like he got hit in the face with a chair like from JBL. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, these umbrellas are made out of plastic. And like Hido's bleeding like he got hit with a barbed wire bat. After the match though, Go Ito, who's kind of dressed like a diet raven, he gets on the mic and he
I completely forgot the best part. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, he gets on the mic and he publicly fires Super Leather, saying that he is fucking trash. And now Go Ito is now my favorite like Team No Respect guy ever. He delivers this like in pretty good English, mind you. So Go Ito, props to you, man.
Using all of the expletives that you would expect a Japanese man that knows English to use.
Yeah, he's like, fuck you, you are super...
Motherfucker!
Yeah, and I was like, oh shit, Go Ito's lit. Post-match is way better than this match because Super Leather gets up, after the beatdown, and he chases this poor woman with a fucking chainsaw, and she is like running for her life, and that made me laugh as well. The last match that we're covering for tonight is Jinsei Shinzaki and Taka Michinoku versus Funaki and Ultimo Dragon. This is from Michinoku Pro, 12/16/2010. This was by Aussie Michi Fan, which is like Bahu, but for Michinoku Pro. Like, those two dudes, man, they got some gems, and, I'd be kind of curious to see what kind of, like, weird items they have. Like, if they had an Instagram, I would follow them immediately. This was billed as a WWE showcase. This was the match that capped off M-Pro's last match of 2010, or card, I mean. Shinzaki is billed as the Hakushi, which I think sounds like 50 times better than just Hakushi. Taka Michinoku is still rocking the Bugs Life haircut. And, I might have like dreamed this, but I think I read somewhere that Kota Ibushi once cut Taka Michinoku's bangs off as a drunken prank. And I really hope that A, that story's true, And I hope that that entire story is told on like a RF video shoot, because I could only imagine how mad Taka got, at Kotsubushi, because that dude has been growing his bangs out for like 20 years. Like, he's been going to the barber and just saying like 2 around the sides, but don't touch my bangs. And he will never let it go. To me, it's kind of sad to see Ultimo Dragon in the wrestling with a t-shirt on phase of his career. It's kind of like analogous to when you turn 30 and like you don't want to take your shirt off at a pool party. So like, I kind of fucking feel you, Ultimo. This match is kind of like a, hey, look at our greatest hits kind of match. Sans like Taka Michinoku hitting a springboard dive and Ultimo hitting his Asai moonsault. But overall, like, this match was pretty solid. But then I was shocked to see like, how good they looked. And then I realized this match was 6 years ago. And then I realized they're still going at it. So I kind of wonder how they're doing now. The best moment in this match, though, was when Shinzaki and Taka Michinoku, they kind of hit this dual rope walk, and they're kind of racing each other around the ring while rope walking, and that made me laugh really hard, and I totally missed this whole M-Pro style of wrestling.
Yeah, this was, I had never seen this. I always say that I need to keep up with Michinoku Pro. I wish they had some kind of Stardom channel, and they don't, unfortunately. My first note, of course, was I'm very shocked that throughout this whole entire match, there was not one "you still got it" chant for any of these guys. How fucking disrespectful of this fucking crowd to not chant "you still got it" at least once during this match. Learn some fucking manners.
Preach it.
Man.
I agree.
Seriously. Outside of that, Jinsei Shinzaki really does still got it. Like, he is, he did not miss a beat in this whole match. Outside of like it's sad to call these guys old timers because it means I'm an old timer, but yeah, it's just like Al said, like, it is sad to see like Ultimo's not even fat, and it's not like he wrestled I guess he did wrestle topless, but like, he's wrestling in a t-shirt, and
yeah,
it's
those shoulder things, I guess, but he was still like out there in the streets.
But he's still not like, I think he could have took his t-shirt off here, but I don't know. But like, it's still sad because like, I mean, he didn't even do like the moves that he's named after, because I'm assuming he's like too crippled at this point to do them.
Yeah, dude.
But I mean, he's still like crisp and fast outside of that. It's not like when you see like an American old timer who really can't do shit anymore, or like that last Tenru match, or like Great Kabuki who's like 95 years old who's still in matches. Like, it's not that bad because he's still doing like pretty crazy shit.
Yeah.
But he's not like, he can't do like the Asai moonsault anymore. I don't know. Dragon Sleeper is not really that tough. I just don't think they could have worked it in, but it is sad to see him in that state. That's really all I had. It was interesting to watch this match. I don't understand why Funaki and Taka weren't on the same team. I mean, Taka still goes at it, I think, pretty regularly.
Yep.
I'm just assuming he doesn't do like, he probably has like a more subdued style now, I would assume. But I'm interested to see if, I don't know how often Shinzaki still wrestles. I see him on like the flyers on Twitter still, so I assume he does some shit here and there, but I don't know, man. I'd like, out of all of these 4 guys, I would have probably imagined him to be like the least still good, because he was like, he used to mail it in back in the day in his prime, so I would kind of assume like this guy would be kind of a lazy piece of shit now, but
no, man,
he was still like hitting everything like crisp, so props to him. If you're a old Michinoku Pro fan, definitely check this out if you haven't, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Jinsei Shinzaki still has like crazy like trap muscles. I respect that shit.
Yeah.
That was episode 20 of the Virtual Pros podcast. If you haven't already, add us on Twitter at VRTL Pros. Same as our Instagram. If you haven't already, also please add us on iTunes and subscribe. Hey, leave us a review. I don't think I've checked our reviews lately, but I don't think we've gotten more than like 3. So if you have the time, please do so. And also hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. I like it. Any last words, Mike?
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. You are what makes the heart beat and all that stuff.
Episode 20. Peace.